Here comes the best, the most well-rounded, best-smelling, nothing off-limits podcast in the world. Welcome to Quadcast with Kortney, Olson.
All right, y'all, we're back for another episode of Quadcast, and today I have my beautiful friend Jennifer Thomas, who is the OG bitch of session wrestling. And some of you are going to be like, you don't know what that is, you haven't read my book, and you're going to be super confused, but we're going to dive into it. And Jen is essentially one of the pioneers of our industry in that she has started a website where there's no other website out there that even compares to hers, period. I mean, there's one that there has been around for a long time.
It's an antique.
It's an antique, isn't it? For sure. There's literally like indexes, and it looks like, you know, AOL had a love child with. I don't even know. I can't think of anything funny to say, but it's really hard to navigate. And so, anyways, Jen's website is just incredible, and so I am truly grateful to have her in here because she and I have big ideas together, and I just want to, let's just talk about what we do. So when did you get started? Okay, first let's clarify for people, what is our industry?
Our industry is pretty much mixed wrestling.
Yeah.
Kicking ass for a living. Proving that women can be stronger than men.
That's it.
Exactly. And that's what I love about it. You know, so it's just like, and it's almost like very therapeutic for me.
Right.
Like I almost feel like I have a wrestling fetish. You know, like I need you to release all these emotions and get paid for it, but all in a nice, friendly, happy way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not really out to beat you up, like, you know. I
really
just
beat you up.
Put you in a headlock and control you with a smile.
Love that.
Yes.
Well, so what's your background? Because I know you did pro wrestling, right? Is that where you started? And then how did you find our industry?
Well, I started in fitness and bodybuilding, which took me to Venice Beach, California, because I'm a believer if you want to be the best, you have to train with the best.
Yep.
And so that took me there, and then that's where I ran into pro wrestlers who I didn't even know who they were at the time. I wasn't a fan of wrestling. I didn't watch it on Saturday morning or anything like that. So wrestling came into my life. I didn't really go searching out for it. So I was kind of burnt out with the whole fitness scene, realized how political and subjective it is, and I'm like, there's no truth to this.
Wow, even back then, hey?
Mm-hmm.
How what year was that? Do you remember?
2002, 2003.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like when Figure first started.
Right.
And
right.
So I did really well in the figure, and I did really well with competing, but it was just like, you know, I'm not going to go to dinner with the judges.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I never made it to the pro levels, and I'm fine with that.
I'm not going to go to dinner with the judges, she said.
And then that's where I fell into wrestling, and I figured, you know what? I've always felt like I was an athlete. Is there a way that I can make a living off of being an athlete? You know, I know I'm not going to make it to like Olympic levels. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
even if you did, you're not going to make enough money to support yourself any damn way.
That's the illusion, because everybody thinks that they do. They think that because you're a professional, you have a pro card, or you have titles, or you have a gold medal, that somehow you're driving around in an Escalade, living in a mansion.
Right.
And like that's how I always believed it.
Yeah.
And then, boy, do I get like a rude awakening pretty fast.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm like, wow. And the same thing actually what happened with pro wrestling in WWE. It was the same kind of political BS, subjective, no truth in it whatsoever, you know. But I was very passionate about it, and I continued to do it. I didn't let that stop me.
Right.
And then I found out about session wrestling.
How did you find out about it?
I think it was through like one of the bodybuilders at the gym.
Oh,
they
wow.
were like, hey, Jennifer,
same thing.
did you know?
Right.
And I'm like, what?
Right.
I know nothing about, and this was actually like right before pro wrestling. So I'm like, I don't really know how much about wrestling. And it's just weird because they kind of joined together at the same time.
Yeah.
So next thing I know, I'm going to pro wrestling class, and then I'm doing sessions, and I was like, in my mind, I'm like, this is like getting paid to do my homework.
Right.
I love it. And I had the strength to where if I lacked the skill, because, you know, pro wrestling is kind of like, it's more showy. It's not like, we're not really trying to hurt you.
Right.
So where I lacked the skill, I had the power to make these guys tap out in an instant.
Right.
So, but now I feel like I have both. I have the skill and the power, and now I'm double the trouble.
So you was a bodybuilder at the gym, and you got into doing sessions. So this would have been what, like 2004?
No, before then.
Yeah.
2002, 2003, right around that same time.
Right, right.
It all came to me when I moved from Seattle to Los Angeles. My whole entire life totally changed.
Right.
You know?
Right. And for those of you that don't know, our industry, essentially, we get paid bank, considering like lawyer rates, to dominate men, essentially. And it's a whole array of different, it's a spectrum, right? Do you ever find it difficult when explaining it, right? Because there's so many things like belly punching or feet or muscle worship, or some guys like fantasy.
Right.
You know, how do you turn that shit into an elevator pitch?
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
When I first was introduced to it, I only thought of it as just wrestling.
Yeah.
And then I found out about lift and carry. And so then like all these other little avenues started to come at me, and I'm like, what?
Right.
You know, but there were some of them I didn't like doing. I don't like doing foot stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and lift and carry, I was fine. Anything that showed physical female strength, I was totally cool with.
Right.
But anything that kind of took it to a different kind of space, I'm like, nah, that's just too weird for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Did you evolve over time? In terms of like what became acceptable, or because I know I sure as shit did, but
Did I evolve? I evolved in the fact that I just kind of like always wanted to be better, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, but as far as offering different services, I've always kind of just kept in my own little wrestling lane.
Yeah.
Or lift and carry lane, or
Yeah.
arm wrestling lane. You know, I don't really entertain the other elements like muscle admiration.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have any muscles anyways. Like, you know, like, come on.
I get it.
You
I
know,
get it.
so it's just being where you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
You know, and not crossing those boundaries with yourself.
Right,
because
right.
now you're just doing something that you're really uncomfortable doing it, and you're doing it for the sake of money.
Right.
And I am guilty of that. I have done
Right.
foot fetish sessions before, and I hated every moment of it. And
Yeah.
I couldn't wait for the hour to be over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know, my advice to those who do sessions is just do what you're comfortable in doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the money's going to come. You don't have to break your own boundaries to make money. You can
Right.
keep within what you are comfortable doing and still make just as much.
Right. The thing I love about you is you are like me. You're driven by service. You're always talking about empowering women. And the great thing about your site is it's usable. Like people have
Except
women.
you can't log in.
Yeah. I'm like the only one. I don't know what the deal is. I hate WordPress. We literally ran our girl enterprise on WordPress websites up until like 2 months ago. And we finally got on Shopify. But WordPress it's the devil's butthole, very
Yeah.
much like Twitter. But you have given women the opportunity to go in and manually control their lives. You know, like we won't name the other website, I guess for sake of privacy. I don't know. But, you know, you would have to email the person, and then they would put your dates up, and they were always pretty quick about it for the most part. But now, you know, you have the capability to go and search and like post your own travel dates, and, you know, read about other guys in the industry who are time wasters or potentially dangerous. Because, and in saying that too, our industry it's not, even though it's technically sex work, even though I had a friend tell me, you know, you're a sex worker. And this was probably 2 years after I had started. So I didn't get started until like late 2008. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not having sex. Like, how dare you? And he's like, well, no, you're essentially, it's still providing a service, and it's in the area of fetishes, if you will. It's a kink, technically, right? And I finally had to come to terms with that. I'm like, yeah, I guess it is. And so what about it? Who cares? But nonetheless, you know, we're in a very...
Gray area.
Yeah, we're in a gray area because we're not, unlike traditional sex workers who will say, or, you know, whether they're making content or stripping or providing sexual services, most men, I believe, come to, unless we'll get in the dominatrix thing in a minute, but most men are coming to women as the one in charge, you know, from the typical male mindset, right? Whereas with us, we have men that come to us, and they're not just lawyers or doctors or people in high power positions and CEOs. They're car mechanics, they're students, they're, you know, you name it, all different walks of lives and backgrounds and occupations. And that's the other thing too. It was wild. It's like, this is a global phenomenon. There are men all over the world who are obsessed with strong, muscular women, right? So I always found that like super fascinating. But you've always been driven by empowering other women to be strong. And that's why I'm so...
I just don't like feeling I'm dependent on a man to do something. So therefore, that's where it all started, was just being able for us women to be able to go in, like you said, manage our own profiles, change our photos when we want to, change our about me when we want to, you know, and just be able to post our travel, not having to worry about, oh, have they posted my travel yet?
Right.
You know, so it was more about just owning our own content, our own profile, our own everything. And I didn't realize that it was going to grow to the point that it's grown.
Right.
You know, but that was the seed of it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So it's just it is amazing, and I'm happy that I was able to like, okay, who else is doing this? Nobody. Okay, well, it looks like I'm going to have to do it.
Literally nobody.
You know,
and that's...
nobody. And no one really has come, even since I started it back in 2010, except for that new recent website.
I was like, who do you think I am? No.
Which is fine. I don't mind, because I don't like necessarily believe in competition. What I believe is in opportunities for women to grow and make money.
Right.
If they get a couple sessions off that other site, I'm happy.
That's
They
great.
made some money from it.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not really worried, because I feel like if you're passionate about something
Yep.
and you follow what's in here,
Yep.
it's all going to work out.
It does, and
You know?
it's so true. There's so much space for all of us, but I'm just so loyal to a fault, like it's ridiculous. Like I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm like, nah, man. Like,
Yeah.
good luck.
And
but...
I'll be honest with you, there's been a couple moments where I'm like, how dare she?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
But
Yeah, I get
but I
it.
have to think about, like, well, my life has been very blessed ever since,
Right.
you know, I took that leap of faith into doing something that wasn't mainstream, that, you know, that allowed me to be my own boss, have my freedom, and do what I love to do without having any restrictions.
Right.
You know, and I'm saying, okay, I believe in abundance, and I just like to think that, you know, we can all work together. We don't need to, you know, fight.
Right. It's no competition. I get it. Like, there was a brand recently in Australia who started naming their sizes names. And I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, Kortney, calm down. It's a, you know, it's a sign of appreciation or greatness, or right. But yeah, nonetheless, I get it. So, your dog is so cute. I want to point out too, you know, a good person when they rescue a senior dog. So I told Jen, Maite, Prince's former wife, like, I've only met her a few times and we text on occasion, but I'm a big fan of her rescue and love senior dogs, and saw Bella. Come here, Bella. Come here. No, say bye. We're gonna pull Bella up and give her a camera appearance, but maybe we'll do that later. But I sent it to Jen, and Jen went and got her, and I was like, "You are legit solid people. So if you know stick with the people that are gonna rescue the senior dogs, you know that their heart is pure as gold." So anyway, as far as, you know, growing our industry, and you've got your vision and your annual event, which, you know, a lot of guys would remember the little finale I've posted about with Sheena, where we had our match, and you know, that was like a follow off of our slap fighting. That was so absurd.
That was amazing.
Remember? And
Yeah.
if you all probably remember Jen's face, she gave me a little slap for practice. prior to it actually going down.
Mine was nothing.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. It's like, how do you practice for slap fighting? You know what I mean? This is, and then after I said yes, I was like, what? Why? Really? Did I sign up for this? I didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but again, and when it came down to it, and it was the night before, I was like, and I found out Sheena and I were, fighting each other, if you want to call it that. I said, look, like, just lean into it. Like, let's sell it, right? Like, this is dumb. We're putting cotton in our ear, like, Dave sat me down and was like trying to show me CTEs from soccer players heading the ball and shit. And I'm like, yeah, but it could be really fun. What if I'm really good at it? And he's like, okay. Nonetheless, I said, sell it. And she's like, yeah, I hope my adrenaline doesn't kick in. And I had just injured my right arm wrestling like 2 weeks prior. And that shit took like 8 weeks. So for any of you out there listening that are already in the session world and you girls charge a lot, yeah, you're damn right we do. Okay? Because we risk a lot of injury.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that shit cost me thousands of dollars to get worked on. But so I slapped her with my left because, I won the coin toss. And as soon as I slapped her, dog, I saw her blinds go down in her eyes. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, child. It's game on.
You saw the beast eyes.
I did. I saw the Hungarian psycho come out, and I was like, it's game over. And sure, and it was so cute though, because you could tell when I stood back up, because as soon as I hit the floor, I was like, oh, it's on. I'm like, all right, now I'm pissed, because I'm like, I can't hit my friend in the face. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a square like that.
That's how I am. That's my pro wrestling. We just work it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
When it comes to the men, we do the real deal, right?
Right.
When it comes to the women, we be nice with each other. Yeah. We work it. Yes, I totally agree with you.
But she's a different beast. And when I'd explain her, I'd be like, look, she's from the part of Hungary where they eat the whole animal. You know what I mean? Like, they eat the brain and shit. Her dad's out there having her bale hay from like the age of 3, so it's hardwired into her to go ham. And, but it was so adorable when I stood up and then passed out and did that bullshit forward roll. You could see her face. Like, she was so upset. She was like, fuck, you know? And that's the beauty of being a female. That's the femininity.
Because know that it didn't come from a ill will, mean place.
Right. Because all the dudes knocking each other out, because we weren't allowed to watch the matches. They had us all in the back. So none of us had any clue what was going on. And I did. I got her right on the face. And she did really well and got me on the carotid artery. And she's judo champion. Use your hips, right?
Seen around the world.
Right. Heard around the world.
Yes.
But
exactly.
Oh my gosh. But the dudes that ended up knocking out other people, and there were a lot of them, they were so jacked. None of them were like, oh my God, is the other person okay? They're like running around in circles like, yeah, victory, while the other person's assed out on the floor. And whereas she was, teared up. She had tears in her eyes and felt really bad about it.
She's a beast with a heart.
She is. She is. So, but that was great. That was great animosity for coming into your show. Right. Because
it was a storyline.
Yeah, there was a storyline. And
now she's coming June 7th.
Right, I know. So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? I better get my ass ready. Like I'm a little stressed out. Like what's round 2 gonna look like?
That match. It was basically. We have to do a rematch, right?
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what. So this is the first time Jen and I have discussed, because I didn't know if I was going to be in town. I have been, so up in the air in regards to what my plans are, because we thought we were closing on a $5.5 million deal, and that fell through after 3 months. It's like the third time in 12 months we've had this level of disappointment. And so I was like, yeah, I think who knows what I'll be doing, but I'll be probably super busy. And then the shit fell through. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Everything happens for a reason. But yeah, I will be here. And I'd love a rematch with Sheena. So everybody needs to go and buy a ticket, which I'll put in the show notes, and you can find that. And what date is that? It's the 17th of June?
Yeah, Saturday, June 17th.
Yes, like a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where's the venue?
The venue is a private residence.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
So it has a big octagon and everything. And then there's going to be a great, amazing after party where it's going to be like a wrestling nightclub atmosphere. You know,
That's
so
really cool.
It's kind of like where mainstream and underground collide.
Yeah.
You know, so the first part is very kind of like the way it was in Chicago.
Yep.
Well, you were there during the after party too in
Yeah,
Chicago.
yeah.
So it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, where guys, you know, if they want to challenge any of us, they can pay us to have a little mini 20-minute, session.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think it's offers a unique way of sports entertainment.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It'll definitely be fun. And for anyone that's never seen it before or experienced it before, you're not bored from start to finish.
Right.
You're not going to be wanting to go up to use the restroom or go get a drink. You're going to be stuck in your seat.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what makes it exciting. And that's not necessarily me making that happen. That's all of us making that happen.
Right.
You know, because there's women that are coming in from all over the world to participate in this. And then you have the men and the fans coming in from around the world to watch it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what makes it so special.
Yeah.
You
And that's
know?
what, it's the level of athleticism, and there's an element of fantasy to it, where it's like it is kind of pro wrestling meets actual martial arts. So, and that's, wanting to grow that into something bigger and finding more women to come into these sports. One of our aspirations with Girl this year was to grow the sport of jiu-jitsu. And, I'm almost like, how are we going to grow my OnlyFans so I can pay some employees? We'll figure it out, whatever. But, how we create a pathway for women to get introduced to this stuff, because it's truly combat sports is what
very empowering.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It truly is.
Absolutely. And that's my goal with these Women on Fire events is to create an avenue for us to go from a level where we're at to much higher levels, to where you'll have that 5 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it takes a team. It takes that village. It says teamwork is what makes dreams work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I believe that we all need to work together with the common goal.
Yeah.
Because when you're trying to solely focus on doing it yourself,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you feel like you got the whole world on your shoulders.
Right.
And it's heavy, and it's just like, where do I get this help from, or where? And then when you think you have the help, guess what happens?
Especially
It's like a wrestling match. You get clotheslined out of nowhere. So I mean.
Yeah, because you had a bad experience with a male business partner, right?
Yes, he wasn't even a business partner. He was just a web guy.
Oh my gosh.
That's
crazy.
So, and you have to overcome these obstacles, and thankfully, when you develop a reputation through the years of doing what you're supposed to do, which is the right thing, you'll have that loyalty from the others, where I was able to create something different outside of that guy.
Right.
And we all joined together.
Right.
And we made it happen, and I'm so grateful for that. But I want to expand on that and do these events with the same common goal. And I would love for something to where each one of us isn't there's one person that's a superstar. It's all of us that are superstars.
Right.
We all shine bright. We all make the shit happen. So that's what the goal is in mind. And then with that, who knows who might be there to see that.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, wow, I see something. And maybe they're best friends with so-and-so. Next thing you know, we're on a major platform.
Right.
So I don't like to say, oh, I predict this or I whatever. I just want to evolve, go with the flow. But if we're all working with the same mindset, I think that magic can happen.
And we get a lot further.
Mm-hmm.
I think and it's interesting too that, there's what we call in our industry, the term is schmo. And schmo is like a word for a guy who loves female muscle.
Well, I love schmoes.
Yeah, right. Schmoes make the world go round.
Right.
And it's funny because there's closet schmoes. And even though they're like your typical alpha male or, presenting in their day-to-day life, but then there's this element of where they truly just want to come and be not in control for an hour. It's all male dominated.
Yes.
And that roll forward hundreds of thousands of years, and it's like, all right, how's that play out in our society today, where men still are supposed to be the breadwinner and the rock, and you don't cry or you're a little bitch, right? They're the provider. They're the strong ones, where it's like they don't have opportunities to come and be on the other side of the coin.
But same with us.
Right.
Same with women, right?
Right.
That's why I do what I do, because I've been told all my life that, I'm supposed to be submissive, stay in the kitchen, go get my degree or do whatever. Just like follow the normal path.
Right.
And do what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm like, but wait a minute, that's not working for me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I don't want to think of myself as submissive. I don't want to think of myself as weak and obeying somebody. I want to think of myself as being my own individual that can make my own decisions. And so just as the men want to surrender to all that power that they have or the expectations on them, for me, I have it just the same way, just reversed.
Right.
I want to prove that I'm strong enough, prove that I can make you call me Princess Jennifer in the first 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So,
is it Princess Jennifer?
Princess Jennifer.
Love that. I can't stand the mistress, madam.
I'm not a mistress, madam, but I like
neither.
princess.
Yeah, princess is cool.
Queen.
Yeah. And I saw you opened up a dominatrix section on the site. How's that been working out?
Yeah, I didn't realize that so many different session girls offered Dom services as well. I was kind of against Dom in the beginning of Session Girls for many, many years, because Dom was definitely not my thing.
Right.
And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I would never do Dom, so I'm not going to have a site that has Dom.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But then I realized, am I judging? Am I judging what Doms do? Because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe I can create, expand the site more and offer them a service that they're already doing, but keep it on the same platform.
Right.
So I just feel like, even though it's not my thing, who am I to knock it, pretty much?
Right.
So, or whip it.
Love that. That's funny.
So I decided to offer Dom.
Good for you.
And, and I also, I have a transgender section now. I never thought I'd have a transgender section. I have a male profile section where males can, the guys
incredible.
can have a profile. So I'm really trying to expand and not just be limiting myself. I want to expand to all different areas.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's incredible. I definitely am not, I'm like, that's not me. Like, I can kind of pretend at 30%, but even then it feels awkward.
Yeah.
Like some women just, they have that. And I don't.
In my mind, it's like they got that mean streak.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't beat you like that.
No.
I can't whip you like that.
You want me to race degrade you? No, sorry. First of all, no.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, also no. No.
And that's the thing, is we're all programmed differently.
Right.
I could never be a UFC fighter or a MMA fighter, period. Never.
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
I never want to hurt somebody, and I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
I want teamwork. Let's work together. And that's why pro wrestling fits in perfect.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
I know, it's funny. I used to, I won't say knock pro wrestling until, I did some shit with you, and then with Funny Bone was showing me some stuff, and I was like, this is, even just getting, what do you call it? Was when you said clotheslined, when you do the, what do you call it? When you just bam onto the mat.
A back bump.
Yeah, bump. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you bump, that it's like the equivalent of a 30 mile an hour car accident, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you're doing that shit how many times in a match? That is so much athleticism.
You have to condition your body to be abused.
Right.
That's the bottom line. And once you get past that, it's great because you don't feel the pain anymore. But you're still knocking your brain.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, man, and I don't want to go cuckoo
Right.
for Cocoa Puffs in my later years because I've taken too many back bumps.
Right.
So now that's where, you work smarter, not harder.
Right.
You can put on a great match, but you don't have to do all those crazy spots.
Crazy ass stuff.
And
Yeah. Totally.
it's so funny you mentioned this because I went to class for the first time yesterday
Oh,
at the
wow.
Nerd Bar. They're holding classes now at the Nerd Bar. So I haven't been
in the ring, in a training class for a long time.
Yeah.
So here I am doing just the basics of forward rolls, back rolls, 3/4 rolls. I got so sick.
Did you?
I was in the bathroom puking.
Oh,
and I'm
no.
thinking, how in the hell did I get through this the first time around?
Right.
Right? And I'm thinking, what am I doing this for?
Right.
Like, I have no desire to go to WWE anymore or anything like that.
Right.
So why am I suffering like this?
Yeah.
So I was telling myself yesterday or last night, I'm like, okay, Jennifer, you could go to class, but don't do the stuff that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's going to make you feel gross. For somebody that's aspiring, it's in my mind, it's like tough enough.
Right.
You have to get through it to go to those next levels.
Right.
Me, I've already done it. So my mind, like, why repeat it? Because I'm not having the goal. Unless they hire a Golden Girls division for WWE, I'm not going to be a part of it.
Golden Girls division.
I'm not gonna torture myself like that.
Bitch, that's actually not a bad idea. Now that you mention it, that's the problem with
Golden Girls versus the Divas.
that's the problem being like as entrepreneurialistic. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. As we are, right? We just we're constantly thinking of new stuff and ways in which we can empower other people, and that's where it gets
so many great things, though, right? Don't you have so many different ideas?
Yeah.
And you're like, you could see each one of them
going like, holy shit, like
Right.
way up here, and it's like, now how do you make this all happen? You know, and which one do you focus on the most?
Right.
You know, it's just kind of like, how do you prioritize your priorities?
Yeah, right. It's the story of my life. I'm thinking of getting that tattoo. Well, actually, I ran out of space, but I saw a tattoo online that it was a to-do list. It was like to do and then like just blank lines with a check mark next to it. And I'm like, yeah, I need that in my life. So, I wanted to bring you on to highlight the event and say I'm super excited about coming out for that and say thank you because you've given so many women an incredible opportunity. And, I've went on now that I was able to log back in for a second. It's like, I can't believe
I think I know what's happening. It's because I'm the one that I think initially created your profile for you.
Yeah.
And I think something because I did it as an admin and not
Right.
as a user, I think that might be the reason why.
Ding, 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 ding.
You know?
That makes
So,
perfect sense.
In my mind, I'm thinking maybe we just need to delete your profile.
And start
And
over.
then start completely fresh.
That's actually probably not a bad
Yeah.
idea. But yeah, and saying that, I was on recently and I see, a lot of non-athletic women on there, which is interesting because you're like, so let me back up. I've met a few wrestlers who don't look athletic and they turn out to be really athletic. Mm-hmm. So it was funny. I caught myself in a bit of judgment yesterday, right? So I jumped on to book some tours and I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you here? Because I know after, like, especially with the pandemic and a lot of people were looking for different avenues of income and other sources shut down. Like, I know there's different websites that got shut down and I got a little like, you're on the wrong website. But then I was like, Courtney, you're being judgy. You know better than that because there are plenty of women who are in bigger bodies doing all sorts of things.
Well, they say don't judge a book by its cover, right?
Exactly.
But I do agree with you. There are a good few of women that just go on there because they see the potential of making money and they don't necessarily have the skills.
Yep.
They just say that they have the skills.
Right.
Which, means they wrestled their brother 10 years ago?
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
So,
I'm like,
there's nothing to show that you're a legit trained athlete. And it's so funny because I met up with MMA Aiden yesterday, who's a pioneer of the whole MMA world, the UFC world, and we were discussing this. How can we kind of filter out just like another category, like something to say this is the real deal here,
right.
Because I know when I was discussing Karma Club, when I had the Karma Club idea, which is basically a secret underground group of fighters that they didn't even show their face. It was almost like a blind session.
Oh, wow.
Right? Guys were so into that, and they were willing to pay for it and everything, but I never got it off the ground.
Right.
So I met up with MMA Aiden yesterday. We're like, how do we do this?
Yeah.
Because she has all the contacts of a lot of the amateur, because I want to focus on the amateur fighters.
Right.
Because it's really difficult to have a real job when you're trying to go into high level of sports.
Right.
And I think this would create a perfect opportunity for them to make that money, just like how I did in my pro wrestling days, and to help them achieve their goals.
Isn't that's so cool? Because there's so many men out there that want to go competitively and actually, you know, or they're into beat downs, or like I said when we first started talking, like the array of things that we provide that aren't sexual is mind-blowing.
Absolutely. And I know that our lifestyle, we look guilty and we're innocent. That's how I feel. I walk into a hotel, I'm all dolled up, all nice and pretty. An hour later, I'm trashed. And I got money in my pocket, and I'm going to my car, and I'm going home. I look so guilty, but I'm so innocent. You know what I mean? But I think that's what kind of makes the business kind of intriguing.
Yeah, right.
The taboo element to it, you know?
No, it's funny when I would go and travel, you know, I wrote about this in the book too. And I said, look, I'd go up to the front desk and I'd be like, look, this is going to look like, you know, part 2 of Pretty Woman. But let me tell you what's really going on. Like, these guys are coming to get their ass beat. I choke them out with my legs. I pick them up. I carry them around. I arm wrestle them. I wrestle them. So don't worry. This is not, you know, this isn't...
It's not what you think it is.
Yeah, like we haven't turned your hotel room into a brothel. And the women were just like, where do I sign up? You know, it's so funny.
But so with MMA Aiden and I yesterday, we're talking about, okay, well, I don't think a lot of these fighters will want to go to a hotel room per se.
Right.
So how can we provide them actual training places where they can go in and do this in a training?
Well, funny, I have your ring
training.
sitting in the back of my warehouse.
I know, right?
And we're talking about outsourcing shipping, so...
Yeah, definitely.
On that note, maybe we should wrap up this podcast and actually start on some ideas.
Right?
Sorry, y'all.
Action.
We love
Yes.
we've loved chatting with you and sharing a little bit of our inside world on the wrestling stuff, and obviously want you to come out to Women on Fire, which is June 17th here in Las Vegas. The website, what is the website, Jen?
𝗪𝗢𝗥𝗡𝗗.com.
𝗪𝗢𝗥𝗡𝗗.com. So jump on that website, get your ticket, come out and experience the fun, and something that you've probably never even dreamt imaginable. And Jen and I are actually going to sit and conspire on what other things we can do to bring women into combat sports and make sure they get paid for it.
Absolutely.
Because this isn't Dana White. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want women to get paid and be able to, like...
Get what we deserve.
Get what we deserve, 100%. So, again, thanks for listening, everybody. Love your guts.